I'm Ryan Milton from Team Flex. Today, we're going to be looking at NPC Junior Nationals, and we're going to look at pro card winners, all of the bikini athletes that turned pro at NPC Junior Nats. We're going to look at the overall winner, these new pro IFBB bikini pros, go over the criteria, why they placed, why they won the pro card, and ultimately what that means for you out there trying to get yourself to a pro card or do your best on a bikini stage 2025. See how the criteria is actually folding out today right before your eyes. So that's what we're going to do in today's video, and I'm doing this all the time on this channel. So if you want to learn more, you want to hang out, hit the subscribe button, drop me a thumbs up or a comment. If you're a repeat viewer, I love reading them, and I do try to respond to them all as I can. All right, so let's get down to it. So we have on the screen 3 different IFBB Bikini Pro winners from NPC Junior Nats. Martina in the middle here is our overall winner and our class winner. We'll go over her in a sec. Callie over here taking Class D, winning her pro card. And over here we have Danielle, Class H, winning her pro card, okay? So let's take a look at them and kind of go one by one here at their physiques and what's really going on. So as we know, bikini criteria is all about the hourglass shape. So you got to have the upper body that tapers into that narrow waist, and then you should see that lower body come back into perfect balance. The most symmetrical, most balanced bikini athletes that are up, down, left, and right, balanced, symmetrical, everything, that's what's going to win. And honestly, Martina here, she has a very locked down look for this, okay? So let's start with the shoulders. So having those shoulders be filled out, that fullness, that front delt, that lateral delt, all that is really, really key. And she has it for sure. It creates that upper base of your hourglass shape, and it keeps the judge's eye where it should be, which is, okay, here's some muscle, here's some delts, here's what's going on. Now, the next biggest thing is always going to be the waist, and I say it every video nowadays because the more dramatic waist tapers are winning in every single women's division. Take that as a note if you're watching this video. The more dramatic waist tapers are winning in every single women's division right now. You need to be working on drawing that waist, and it's not just waist trainers and all these silly things. It's dedicated training, specific exercises and stuff like that to really draw that through. When I'm training bikini competitor, it's one of our focus points. It's one of our targets that we're looking at. How do we get the waist as narrow as possible? How do we, make sure that that body fat and everything else is right where it should be? And, she really locks that down. She's got a flat stomach, very narrow waist, some good lines in the obliques, nothing too crazy. The other thing I want to know in her physique, though, is her lats. So from the back, she'd have very wide lats, and from the front, she has that lat width, which sweeps into the waist and really creates a super solid V-tapered look. So not every competitor will have that. Not every competitor will have a benefit from that, but for her physique, it definitely does. Now, looking lower body-wise, what we want to see is good overall glutes, matching the quads, matching the hamstrings. So her development is really solid. No flattening going on in that upper glute. That is there. Overall glute density totally there. And again, the quads balance with the hamstrings, match perfectly to what's going on up top. It is a very locked down, complete look. Next thing I want to note is her conditioning. So she doesn't have overdone conditioning anywhere. We're not seeing cuts in the delts. We're not seeing splits in the quads. We're not seeing too shredded in the abs. She is very much just right on par with condition here, and it is a total lockdown look for her from this front. Super symmetrical, super hourglass. I know you're seeing it. That's how she wins, her class, and also wins that overall, that pro card, right? So let's take a look now over at Callie. So what's the difference, right? So Callie here, Kaylee, one of the two. Sorry if I, reach out to me if I'm getting your name messed up. She's also a pro card winner. She wins that pro card. And she doesn't win the overall, but let's talk about it, right? She should be very close, as all pro card winners at, nationals usually are. And we do see that good shoulder shape overall. Not as much from the lat, right? Like I said, not every athlete's going to need that or want that. Super narrow waist look here and good balance coming out in the lower body, the glutes and the quads and the hamstrings. Now, some points that stand out as different to me, okay? Not as much fullness in the delts, maybe just needs a little bit more of that size and that fullness here. She also has, I would consider in this front pose, maybe just a little bit quad heavy, right? Not as much coming from the glutes and the hamstrings to match that quad development. Over here, Martina, she definitely has, a little bit more of that balanced look right there between her lower body, and I think that's really key. I start to get a little bit of a quad forward look, and this is common, but, one of those things that maybe just a little bit more muscle, a little bit more fine-tuning of that symmetry makes a difference to that overall. But again, wins the pro card. Absolutely nothing to scoff at. Phenomenal job to all the ladies in this video today, and we have a lot of them. So let's keep rolling, okay? Danielle over here. So for her, really good overall shape, good structure. She wins her pro card in class H. So some of these athletes in, these taller classes, they tend to look a little bit leaner. We see that often. They carry muscle a little bit differently based on their height. And so for what we're looking at here, good taper into the waist, good overall glute shape. Upper glute is there, good density down here. For her, she's a tad leaner, I think, right? And that makes a difference. You start to see a little bit more of that feathering going on here. Not a big deal. I wouldn't say she's off with her conditioning. It's just something to note. It's a little bit different from the overall winner. She is a tad leaner for sure. And she does, again, not have as much fullness from the shoulders here. So that can make the lower body just, appear just a little bit ahead of what's going on up top. So again, not as dramatic of a shape, but again, very good bikini quality physique, wins her pro card, nothing to scoff at whatsoever. All right, let's take a look from the back now. That's where the full story is always told in bikini. It'll be told here today. So instantly, as you look at the screen, okay, we can see some similarities. We see some differences. Let's go one by one. So Martina here, good overall shoulder shape from the back. We see that. That's what creates that first bit of that hourglass shape. Got to have it. Want to lock that in. Tapers in very well into the waist there. It's all there. Her arms, bicep and tricep do not overpower this pose. Great. Lower body-wise, very, very symmetrical. So you see overall upper glute shape, good overall glute density, slight separation between the glute hamstring tie-in, just like you should, and quads, hamstrings that do not overdo it. Do not, give us that wellness quad sweep that we see, or any of that too much hamstring development, or make any of it look like it's too big overall. She really just has a very symmetrical lockdown look, and her conditioning again is like probably perfect. So it is right where it should be. For the longevity, what she needs to continue to work on, right? Because I like to say that too for these pros. I would say adding more size to the glutes, a little bit more of that upper glute, a little bit more overall, pull that tie in just a little bit more through, and probably just a little more size to the legs. But overall, again, she wins the overall here, wins her pro card. Very, very good representation of criteria. Callie over here, Callie, what we're looking at is we can see good shoulder shape, tapers in very well. Lower body-wise, though, again, we're not pulling through the same amount of muscle density. She has really good overall upper glute shape overall here as well. But again, that's one of those things where the quads do stand out. They start to look a little bit heavy. The balance isn't as good as it could be back here. And also maybe just a tad softer than what we're seeing over here. So again, those are the biggest markers. But again, you're right there where everybody is, winning a pro card. They are all very, very close. These are just the differences between, these other pro winners versus the overall. And the interesting thing is, for all you watching, everybody we're looking at is a freaking IFBB pro right now. So take notes on everyone, not just the overall winner. All right, let's see here. Class H, Danielle. So overall, this is where we get to see she is definitely a bit leaner, right? Not as much fullness coming out of the shoulders, a little bit leaner in the triceps. Not a big deal, but something to note. Lower body-wise, good glute structure. The upper glute appears to be a little bit, a little bit under, not as filled out as it could be. That could be from being a little bit leaner, right? And that happens. Tie-in looks good overall. Maybe needs a little bit more fullness and density down in the lower body. We're seeing a lot of hamstrings coming through and stuff. Again, just a leaner look, overall leaner look. So more fullness, a little bit of a softer look for her. May have put her in that overall slot, okay? Let's keep moving down the list because we have a lot in this group here. So now we're going to take a look at Class E and Class B. So we have Holly over here, Class E winner, pro card winner, and Class B winner here, Lynn, pro card winner. Okay, let's see what we got in these groups. So Holly here, a lot of shape, a lot of good shape, a lot of good, muscular density up top. It tapers in very well. Lower body, good glute structure, good quads, good hamstrings. Everything appears very well shape-wise. She's definitely lean. She's definitely much leaner, right? And this is one of those times where sometimes that's the only difference when you're in these top competing, these pros, especially nationals, the NPC Nats, all that stuff, junior Nats, all this, any of them. It can come down to the most finite of things because, again, you're going from the NPC into the pro leagues, and what's the difference going to be? So, again, she wins her pro card, very good quality physique. Definitely, though, Martina is coming in softer. So a little bit softer, maybe that's the difference. Maybe that's the thing, right? And she could probably fill out the shoulders a little bit more if she was a little softer, probably not have as much going on in the midsection if she was a little bit softer, maybe a little bit more glute would fill out. But overall, honestly, shape-wise, this is a very complete bikini look, probably just maybe a tad lean. We'll see when we get to the back. And Lynn over here, Class B winner, pro card winner here. Very good overall physique, good shoulder shape, tapers in really well here. We see all the good markers, which again, we'll start to see over and over on all these athletes, all these bikini athletes that have just locked down hourglass shapes. That's what we see. When we get to the lower body, though, her quad does stand out to me. I'll be interested to see how that goes from the back, but looks a little bit dominant here compared to what's going on with the glutes and the hamstrings. We'll see, but overall, complete look, nails the conditioning, I think, here from this front. Really does lock it down. Not as much muscle going on in that lower body, though, compared to Martina. And that's, again, probably one of the factors for the overall. All right, let's get to the back. But first, if you're watching the channel and you're loving the stuff you're learning, come do the free trial. I can give you feedback on your physique. I'll show you how to train. I'll build you training sessions. I'll answer your questions, do anything that you want to do. I treat you like my client, free for 7 days. You got to come over there, check it out. Totally good opportunity to learn a lot more and get a lot more done. If you're enjoying these videos, you enjoy this stuff, you're hearing this, you're learning, you're applying it, come do this. I'll tell you what, this is transform people's prep journeys. Come to just do my free trial. So come over there, check it out. You will not regret it, I promise you, okay? All right, let's keep rolling down the list here. So we got to look at Holly from the back and Lynn from the back now. So Holly, remember I said maybe a little lean? We see that here too, right? So she's still got killer shape. Everything ties in really well. Good overall taper, but upper glute a little bit depleted, right? And this happens when you're leaner. A lot of times it's one of the first things you start to lose is that upper glute, that fullness, and judges really do hammer that. They look from that. And, she's got some pretty big density going on here as far as cuts go in the quads and the hamstrings. So, maybe just coming in a tad lean here, where if she filled it out, would have probably completed the look a little bit more. She probably would have had a very good shot at the overall win in that lineup, but you can definitely tell Martina is much more filled out, much softer than Holly is over here, okay? Now, let's take a look over at Lynn. So Lynn from the back, really, honestly, a very complete look, really locks this down. Good balance from the shoulders to the, tapers in here. The quads don't actually appear too dominant from the back. They did a tad from the front, but not here, and good overall glute shape structure. Tie-in is there. Everything is really here. She may honestly be just a tad glute heavy in this group compared to some of the other ones we've seen so far, and that might have been the shift in there, or maybe judges want her just a tad tiny bit tighter. Either way, again, we're talking about the separations of points. We're talking about all these pros. These are very, very good physiques that really lock it down, and they obviously have moved into the pro leagues, and so that's, again, how they really had it right where it should be. All right, couple more to look at here. So we're going to take a look at Class C winner, Pro Card winner, Regan, and then Class A winner over here, Pro Card winner, Raven. And we're going to go ahead and see what's going on with these two. So what we can see for Regan is, overall good shoulder shape. Definitely has that fullness there. It tapers in very well into the waist. Lower body-wise, good balance with the glutes, the quads, the hamstrings. What stands out to me instantly, not as much muscle really anywhere. So, a little bit more fullness in the shoulders, a little bit more fullness in the glutes, the quads, the hamstrings. So shape is all there. Probably just needs more of that muscular density here to end up moving up into maybe an overall win slot like Martina. That's the biggest difference in that group. But again, she wins that Pro Card, Class C, nothing to scoff at. All great representations of criteria. Just trying to further highlight for all of the viewers here, all you watching, the things that make a difference in your prep. All right, so Raven, Class A winner and Pro Card winner here. So she's really got a totally locked down, overall good shoulder shape, good taper in, and, we can see all these markers here coming through as far as what's going on. Definitely more glute density, more hamstring, more quad, and that all ties together pretty well. So I think she really does have a pretty complete look. I don't think she actually is Class A. I think I messed that up, throwing myself, or maybe she is. Maybe she is Class A. Okay. Sometimes Coach Rye. All right, Class A. Either way, what we're looking at with her, she's got really good muscle and density, which we do typically see on those classes that are, in that shorter group, a little bit more of that muscle and that shape really pops through. She does have a very hard six-pack. I don't know if that makes a difference or not in this group. I've talked to many judges about that, and with my bikini athletes, I've learned really it's very dependent to the physique. But overall, she has very complete structure, very good shape here. I'm assuming when we get to the back, we see the thing that makes a difference because she really does have a very, very close look to Martina in this group, okay? Now, let's take a look here from the back where usually the full story comes together. So Regan, You know, again, just where you can see instantly, just needs a little bit more size in the quads, the hamstrings, definitely the glute. Upper glute needs more of that density. And overall, her shoulder shape looks good. Taper in looks good. Just needs to, again, hammer that and really bring in a little bit more of that density lower body, which is very common for bikini, what we see a lot of times. Now she's pro, though. She's gonna do that anyway going to the pro league. And okay, Raven here. So, yep, when you get to the back, again, full story is always told. So definitely not as much pop coming from the glutes, the overall glute, that tie-in. Her quads and her hamstrings do appear just a tad bit out of balance compared, right, to her glutes. So it's one of those things where filling out the upper glute, adding more glute density, probably bringing down the quads just a tad. Everything there is the balance factor for her moving in the pro leagues. But overall, really great, look, really good shape. It's all these athletes are doing outstanding jobs. Keep in mind, they just went from the NPC to the pro league. So they are the best of the NPC now transitioning into the pro league, okay? Last one we're going to take a look at, Class G winner, Rhiannon. And, what we get with her, very good shoulder shape overall, tapers in super well, glute densities there, quads, hamstrings. It's all there, as it should be with any of these athletes that are going to turn pro. They're all going to be within points of each other, right? That's usually what happens. She needs probably a little bit more of that glute density, upper glute. We'll probably see that when we get to the back. She is also a tad bit leaner for sure. See that in the quads, the oblique line, maybe just filling out a little bit more because that is, again, the main difference between her and Martina that I can see. Fullness, bringing more fullness, a little bit, softer of a look. And again, that's what continues to be echoing the win in bikini. From the back, this is exactly what you see, very lean shoulders, got some splits and some threads going on, tapers in. Not as much pop coming from the glutes, though. So a little bit more of that density needs to come through, that upper glute tie-in, hamstrings and quads. I'm saying a lot of the same things because really that's what it is. Judges, again, in these divisions, they, especially at Junior Nats, went with more muscle. They went with more fullness. So if you want to be your best bikini competitor, that's your focus. More muscle, more fullness, bringing through this kind of a super dramatic shape, super dramatic tapered look, lock it in, bring it through. And make sure your conditioning's dialed. Don't be too lean. Don't be too soft. Bring through balance, and balance is what wins in bikini every single freaking time. And yeah, that's where we're at. So I don't want to make the video 45 minutes. I'm going to cut it there. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. Drop in the comments. Are you happy with how bikini's heading? Are you competing in bikini this year? Tell me your show. I'd love to hear about it. Comment it down. And thank you for watching. Coach Ryan is out.